Today is April 26, 2016. Finance Committee starting at 7:12. On tonight's agenda, we have mail, reserve fund transfers, meeting minutes, 7:15 appointment with Agricultural Commission, 7:30 meeting with the library, discussions on the FY16 and 17 fiscal year budgets, discussion on articles for the warrant, review the calendar, public participation, and adjournment. So, for mail, is it just the reserve fund transfer?
Gordon,
Yes.
I'm going to ask that you go into executive session at the end because I need to talk to you about, give you an update on contract negotiations.
Okay, so the reserve fund transfer, the amount requested is $1,500 to be transferred to a health insurance consultant. Present balance is $0. The amount requested is to contract with a consultant to review the town's health insurance history, claims, etc. The town needs to look at possibilities for health insurance other than the Mayflower Municipal Health Group, MMA, GIC, or other cooperative insurance pools. The consultant will review the town's claim history and other information and offer advice as to how the town should proceed. Additional money would be needed if the town sought assistance in joining a newly created pool. Charlie, do you want to
So
speak?
basically, where we are at right now is I told you that the insurance is going up 15% for this coming year. So we're spending close to $1 million on insurance. There are a number of communities that are going to be looking at possibilities other than the Mayflower group, not just because of the rate increase, but some other government issues and such. One possibility is to go with the MMA, just like they have their property casualty workers' comp, they have a municipal health insurance group too. The GIC would be a possibility. I'm not saying a throwaway is because they're that. I believe there's at least one other consortium of towns in the Bristol, Norfolk, Plymouth region that we might want to look at. And I strongly expect that there'll be a group of towns that will spin themselves off from Mayflower. The thing is, anybody who's we might want to knock on their door is going to want to know our claims history, have an analysis. What are we putting into the plans? What are we taking out for claims and such, administration fees? And Cooking Company has worked with a number of communities on the South Shore on those issues. Given that we're spending $1 million a year and spending $1,500 on the consultants, fairly inexpensive. If that group does spin itself off, those members are probably going to have to pony up some money, again, either a Cooking Company or somebody else, to get the group organized and reset and things like that. But we're not there yet. This is just the first step. And while we do have money in the health insurance account, the group insurance account, when I talked with Sandy about this, she recommended simply because no one would expect us necessarily to be spending money for that reason. Now, the health insurance is really good for the premiums to pay the town share. So she thought it was advisable, and I agreed that I continue to get reserve fund transfer for the specific thing. I mean, I don't know, how she'd feel if you said, well, go ahead and spend the money on the health insurance because all you can now. She doesn't like that.
I do a line item transfer, but you can't just spend it on that. The health insurance line is for premiums.
No, the person doesn't say that, but everybody's expectation has been that. So I understand that philosophy.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
What are any idea on the expected costs if we do move forward?
I mean, I would think it's going to be 5 figures.
Okay.
To have somebody set it up. I mean, not 90,000, but both 5 figures, but it's not going to be $1,500 again. But if I'm going to, I think I have a better idea maybe this summer, maybe in time for the town meeting this fall, because if we're going to do a go or no-go decision, it has to be by the end of December, probably earlier than that.
Is there a motion to approve? Request?
Motion.
So second?
A second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. That's the only reserve fund transfer?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're running a little behind, so we have a 7:15 appointment with the Agriculture Commission. Is it just you coming tonight, or?
There were a couple others coming.
Okay. Do you want to come up and we'll just introduce ourselves, or? My name's Gordon Andrews, I'm the chairman.
I'm Stu Hall.
Linda Braga.
Mel Conroy.
Suzanne Emerson.
Hi, Susan.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you. So, I missed the last meeting. What,
We had,
just had a couple.
yeah, oh yeah, grab a seat.
we had put a hold on their request to get the article number off the top of my head here.
Is it
It
on?
was because they wanted to add a line.
They wanted to add a line item.
It's $750 for signs.
And then add a line for future. Yeah,
Right.
for upcoming years.
So Article 32 in the budget, well, not the budget, but Article 32 in the warrant.
Okay, so Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $750 for the expenses of the Agriculture Commission for fiscal year 2017 and to establish a separate line item for this purpose in the operating budget or take any action thereon. Okay, did you guys get prices for signs?
Well, I had hoped that Amber Doherty was here. I think she had some quotes between $75 and $100 each, and I believe we need like 8 or 10 signs.
Okay,
But I don't have the quote.
okay.
I think last week's holding on was based on the fact that they wanted to establish this as an ongoing line item.
Okay.
One-time expense, I certainly have no question about, but establishing it as something that's going to be funded year after year after year.
Charlie knows anything about that. That might have been something Terry Carmen had mentioned. That's news to me.
So,
I thought it was just for signs. Do you know anything about that?
Well, yeah,
Terry?
because the commission wanted to know, have an appropriation on an annual basis. Now, what they would, there are any number of things, if you go back to the charge for the commission under the bylaw, there are any number of other activities they can do besides just putting up the signs. But I don't know what their plans are. I'm not going to the meeting, so I don't know, for instance, what they might want to try and do in fiscal 18 as an example.
okay. I don't see it being an issue if we know that it's being the signs this year, and if it's added as a line item within the overall budget overall. If we have questions for upcoming
Yeah.
years, we,
At the different meetings, we've been talking about, the possibility of doing, like a farmer's market in town and things like that. So I don't know if there's, minor funding, for things like that.
okay.
It's not gonna be major, I can tell you that.
Do you guys have any feelings on it being a line item, or?
Well, being a line item itself is certainly not an issue in my mind. It's
Okay.
how much budget do we put to it?
Okay.
I think that's the
I mean,
question.
it would certainly, I think, have to be in that secondary category, just, we got a fire and police and schools, and then we have the secondary to everything else.
You guys have, I mean, I'm fine with it being a line item if we don't know what they're gonna ask for next year, because we can ask them during the year.
Okay.
What's the plan for it? Even if the finance committee doesn't like it, you guys can still put a number in there and have it at town meeting.
I think the main point is to try to get some signs put up this year.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Article 32 as written. I'll make a motion to approve Article 32 as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay, I'll second.
Any Further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank
Thank you.
Bless you.
Feel better.
Thanks.
Sure you're not contagious?
Yeah, it's just pollen. Thank you, Barbara. Oh, this was the time that I got Lyme disease 2 years ago, so,
Was it really?
yeah. It starts out like this too.
No big purple circles.
No, I don't have any marks yet. Okay, 7:30 with the libraries next, but
Do you want me to see if they're ready? They've been in the hallway for quite a while.
sure.
Do you want me to do it, Kendra? Doesn't matter.
I don't remember why we asked them to come in.
No, relax.
No, they want to discuss changing, at 18 to 25, we voted against it. They want to ask us to
So
reconsider.
funny.
18 to 25.
The library tech hours.
Finance committee will see
Oh,
you. I just realized I'm like your major D.
Supposed to stand at the door and get greased.
Your table's ready.
The table's ready.
Your reservation is now ready. Are all your orders first?
Hi.
Hello again, Jean.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Greg is a member of the finance committee.
Yeah, what? Back in the week?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, this is Greg
In the
Tilly.
way.
Yeah.
He's a member of the Board of Trustees. His term is actually up in June or May, so we'll be losing him. But he thought that he would come and support me as I ask for reconsideration of your decision not to recommend the increase in hours for the technology position. Last time we met, I didn't bring the current role of the technology coordinator, and I didn't bring an explanation of why I wanted the increase in hours. And the reason was because when I did the increase in hours and the bottom line in wages came out to less than what I had asked for last year, I said, oh, well, it's just less than last year, so it'll be fine. I don't really have to explain anything. I didn't realize that when you decrease, when someone retires and you go down to a step 1 from a step 6, that reduces, I knew it reduced your wage line item, but I thought I could make that up in increasing hours. So I came back here to bring you a paper on the increase, and I brought Craig with me, on the increased role and the importance of the technology coordinator at the library.
Thank you.
thank you.
Charlie, you want,
I have enough paper.
Jean, can I have one of those for the notes, please?
Thank you. Thanks. So overall, the need for the increase in hours in the tech coordinator position lies in the fact that for over 13 years, the position has been held at 18 hours. Originally, back when I first started at the library, this position was 30 hours, and then we had to cut it down. And then back in 2003, the reference position was 25 hours and the tech was 18 hours. And we hired somebody for the 25 hours a week reference who didn't want the hours. She just wanted the 18 hours a week. But I didn't feel at that time that the library really needed those hours in the tech coordinator position. So we just kind of, what I thought was, gave them back to the town, kind of put them on the shelf, and then as things evolved, as jobs and responsibilities in the library are always changing, and now we're at the point where the technology in the building is really an important part of the library, and I really do think that this is a perfect time to add those hours, because we have that large deficit in the budget. So some of the things that she does now is she designs and develops and maintains the library website. She's in charge of the social media account management, private lessons, private classes. We've had a lot of people come into the building that are, seeking out how to maintain websites and things like that. So, she is asked to run about 3 classes a week on helping people on the different technology responsibilities that they have. She does all the publicity for the library events, and she does the online presence for the Holmes Public Library patron groups. Both the genealogy and the knitters have established Facebook pages to share ideas, plan outings, and connect beyond their weekly, monthly programs in the library. She's worked closely with both of these groups to aid them in creating pages, advise them on setting and policies and coordinating with the library official page and the website to promote residents who cannot attend in-house meetings of either group to still be a part online. She does still reads advisory and front desk work and special programming as part of her tech. The additional hours really are needed if we get the new community room update. We're expected to have live group programming. So there's not a line item in the library budget for programming, so we depend on staff to do programming. Each staff member, besides our cataloger and our library assistant, runs a program. I run the evening book club. Our reference librarian at 18 hours a week she does 2 book clubs and a writers group. So we really have to depend on, number one, our friends group or the LCC for programming at the library, but most of it falls on the staff. And now with the current technology boom, it's important, mainly her hours would be to run programming for the library. So regular monthly group workshops on social media accounts like Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, webpage, and e-commerce design. The number of independent business owners looking to design their own website and blog and online marketplace, Etsy, eBay, need instruction on how to navigate to set up. So I brought this and that's what we talk about.
So just go back over the budget. The latest sheet, Sandy, is the one that we have approved.
Yes. And that's why you approved it.
Yes.
I met with Capital Plan and Mel was there and
129. Sorry to cut for the coffee.
I have, I made, this Gordon so that
Okay.
No,
the
the,
290,
just going over the wages
271
right
is right now, the library wages, the library salary, and the library operating expense, with the tech position at 18 hours a week, figuring in the 1% raise. And that, when I say level funded operating expense, to operate the building is over, we've had the same number for years, the 84,953. So that's what that number is, the 290,271.
Where's the 270, 270?
Right at the top, the very first number.
That's 290, 271, yeah,
Right.
okay.
And then the second number on that sheet is our state aid requirement of 315,630. And then the third number sheet is the deficit. the number that we have to put into the operating budget. In addition, we put that into the operating budget. And then I put my proposal on how I would like to meet that deficit with the $8,091 for the increase in hours. Some of the items that were on my capital plan request, I had to include the revolving fund because the revolving fund is money that we always take in every year. And if I don't include that, then it's just gonna increase my bottom line next year when I have to report it. And then the last figure is what I would be turning back to the town.
So on the capital plan, Al, those are the items.
Yeah, that's basically the community room, a couple of smaller
Network
computer
devices.
network stuff. There's also 4,300 included in there for the parking lot and tarring and sealing and painting.
So that's,
Sandy made this for us, and it
I guess
basically,
more copies too.
Okay.
So there will be, so this is the amount that would come back to the town
okay,
due to the
thank you, Cindy.
required increase in the library budget by the state. And the reason this number is different here is Sandy did not factor in the 8,091.
Right, because there wasn't, right.
8,091 for the positional change.
Correct. So we'll leave it 4,000 and change coming back to the town instead of the 77.
well, I also didn't, if you recommend the increase in hours, I also took some of the stuff off the capital plan that I would just kind of wait till next year or kind of put on the back burner. So the items that I put from my capital plan were what I figure is a priority, and that's the community room update, the patch panel. I want to show everybody the patch panel in the school.
So she presented us with that. That's what her wiring situation looks like.
Yes, nightmares.
I'm not gonna say anything. It looks like a fun job to find a wire in.
He didn't think it was too bad. He gave me a price of $995, and I do have those quotes. And I will say, we have been living like that for, as long as I can remember, so,
You couldn't resist.
Oh, he's looking at whether he can do it for less.
I'm not picking up computer equipment anymore. Yeah,
Greg, did you have any questions or anything you wanted to?
Yeah, obviously this gap of, it's 25,359 now before any of these one-time things. Obviously, that's a gap that would naturally close over 5-6 years, I think, if nothing was done. So obviously, on the one hand, I can see why you want to use a lot of one-off types of things over a number of years to do that. Increase in the technology position, that's a permanent increase. It doesn't create a budget issue right now, but it's up what it would down the road. And my perspective on that is, since she's been in the position, what, five months or so? Unlike her predecessor, she seems to have really branched out and trying to bring technology to a lot of functions or parts of the library that was never done before. And it's kind of an eye-opening to myself and the others on the board of trustees over the last 4 or 5 months, what she's been able to do. And we were thinking, geez, it might make sense in some ways to knock it up from 18 to 25 hours, and it wouldn't be so much an issue, obviously, in these next few years coming forward. It would down the road a bit. But hopefully by that point, I guess would be really apparent that it's justified and be able to hopefully keep it at that level in, say, 5-6 years versus there's budget constraints and the town has limited resources, I completely get that, so, that's my perspective on that there, so, there's obviously other factors you have to obviously weigh in this, and not just the library when you're making this decision, so.
Now, do you find that the library website, the social media, the areas that she is basically tasked with, are they falling behind because she's not getting enough hours, or they're not staying as current as they should be?
No, she's actively dealing with that. What she's doing, she's proactively tackling a lot of areas that were really technology has not been brought to it, and that's what we kind of noticed on the board there. So she's staying on top of the things that need to be taken care of. At least it was in the core of the position 18 hours when she first took it up. But she was very proactive in trying to help some of the groups that, like the Genealogy Club and other groups like that, have come and used the facilities at the library, really trying to embrace technology there, which has a lot of spillover benefits. And it'd be kind of neat to see what that might turn into for the next year or two, obviously. But obviously that has financial consequences for allowing that to happen.
And I think with the, with the advance of technology where now newsletters are emailed out, within the sales network and new book lists are emailed out, she's taken all of those responsibilities and those are actually part of her regular 18 hours a week responsibility. But it's kind of stretched it to the max so that if I, need her to run a group program on, like I said, I have to depend on my staff because I don't have a line item for programming. But I can at 18 hours a week with that. So she's keeping up certainly with her roles and her responsibilities and doing a great job. But then to move us forward, yes, we're not going to move forward at 18 hours a week at a tech position when we really can, and we have that chance to do that now.
It's an odd budget situation due to I don't want to call it a deficit, it's not a deficit, it's just a small budget due to a whole bunch of personnel changes.
Right.
And, this gap won't last a period of time, but because of the accreditation issues, we can't like drop it and bring it back up. So it's it's not a very unorthodox situation trying to how to tackle it. So, I mean, on the one hand, you can sit there and say, well, okay, maybe we can allow this to go up to 25 hours a week, and then when we get to the point where that's actually a budget issue, we can revisit the issue in 3 or 4 years and say, do we have the money to do it, is it warranted, whatever. And maybe if the committee decides to go that route, it could be communicated to the individual saying, hey, they're willing to let it go to 25 now from 18, starting next fiscal year, but we're going to revisit it in X years, understanding the budget implications, we might have to go back to 18. I mean, that's one option.
Another way to look at it is that she would have budget for wages. Maybe it's another associated in the library that she maybe isn't as busy and would want to reduce those hours to keep the tech hours if you want to keep the budget at a certain level. You try the 25 now, and that takes off. Maybe your reference library, or maybe a different one, wouldn't need as many hours or something. But that's one way to look at it. One of the things that capital planning was talking about, because we do believe that she should get these capital items, they're what would have been listed on the article that we would have put on the capital plan. But if she got the extra money for the extra 25,000, would probably take off the line with more like 4,000 there. So it would be more like 8,000 going back to plan instead of 4,000.
There were some items on my capital plan that I, like the laptop for the director. I really am moving going to be using one of the newer computers. It's a hard drive computers. It's not a laptop.
Desktop.
A desktop, there you go. And that we purchased last year. We purchased it as part of this print release station that's really not working out at the library, and we'd like to get rid of that. So I'll be using that. So there are some things on the capital plan that I would be willing to, put to next year when we look at what we need to buy.
I guess just one concern. Just looking at the overall increase, and when you hit above the 19 hours as you add in benefits, so then that means we need to adjust for those items as well. And one of the questions that we had a couple weeks ago, Cindy, I don't know if you had a chance to look, but are the benefits for the staff being included into calculation for what the library needs to spend?
They're not, no.
It's the fringe rate. It's the rate.
We don't have, because it's not, we don't know whether the person will take benefits if they have the opportunity, and we've never had a rate that was able to say, all right, this person comes on and is eligible for benefits, so that adds this amount of money. Because even with all the different health insurance programs that we have, offerings, it's hard to say, so much depends on
So there's obviously a hidden, well, not a hidden cost, but there's an additional cost. It's
There's
not-
additional cost to add in.
It's not a guaranteed cost either.
Yeah. We have other situations, obviously.
But there should be a plug value,
Yeah, we gotta come up with something that we,
otherwise it's too big a liability.
because I just remember looking at the OPEB actuary study, there was a number that they plug in for every employee, even if they currently didn't take it, so we do need to, it's just an aside.
But we don't do that here, we don't.
Not like in your expenses, so when we look at each department, we just have your salaries, but when you go to line 151, so we have the Plymouth County retirement cost, that there is some money going in for every employee if they're eligible for retirement. And then the group insurance town share, which is the health insurance number, so there's a sum of money for every employee if they're taking there's a calculation that,
There's a way I could look at the school-related costs worksheet and see if I could figure out some kind of a rate. We've never done it that
Yeah.
way,
No,
but we have a,
and the school doesn't have retirement taken out. The state pays it.
yeah, Plymouth County does. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
not the teachers, the other staffs.
We have a factor
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And then the Medicare line. So those are the three lines
So
that
those-
affect.
Those three line items you figure out on the number of employees you currently have using benefits?
Yeah, with
But you don't have a number to say if somebody else jumps on board.
so I don't know the number. I don't know what Linda uses for that.
Yeah, I mean, for the health insurance, a lot of the employees don't take it, so then the question becomes, do we plug a number in, extraordinary cap type of thing? We don't know until we open the box whether there's health insurance in there or not. So that if a family, and the thing is, it's a major difference, a family plan
It's
per month
10,000.
costs the town $1,000, will cost the town $1,150 a month next, starting in July. It makes a big difference between 12,000 or
12,000. Yeah.
So, but that number that gets approved at town meeting is not based on the number that you currently have?
Plus some pledge factor.
Well-
We'll take our current enrollment, we know what the rates are gonna be next year, and the treasurer's office will leave an allowance, let's say for a couple of employees. We have people going in, people going out, but we don't wanna run out either, so that we'll have additional sort of slots. And it's not that if if 3 people come in and say they want it, we only have money for 2, we'll deal with it. But that's a rare occasion. So that health insurance number, even with no change in the number of employees, can change from year to year, simply based on people, and they don't even have to leave work or come, in the sense of, maybe your spouse doesn't have health insurance anymore and you can't get it through your spouse. Now you need it, okay? And vice versa, maybe your spouse takes a better job, or not a better job, but a job with better health coverage or less expensive, and suddenly, okay, let's join with that person.
So there was that hidden cost that we had discussed too.
Remember that?
Does anybody else have anything to?
I guess my big hesitation in approving this is town-wide, we requested that all departments present level funded plus step increase budgets. This, I don't want to say flies in the face, but this is outside those parameters. And that's why I'm hesitant to make an exception. I know we already have an exception built into the library with the state mandate to increase the budget a certain amount. But to do this for the library and not be able to do it for other departments, I have great pause in doing that.
Yes, so we talked at capital plan that really the precedent when something happens is that, like this, when a retirement, that the wage line just goes down. And,
Yeah. So that's what we saw. So which line is it? The treasurer collector salary, so line 29. Oh no, that's elected, sorry. The assessors,
I think it was the assessors.
we had figured in,
Because of, the primary and the,
And, yeah,
so the print, is that the, no,
sorry, when I gotta find the
16.
number of years on, that I was showing to get it a little bigger.
well, but yes, so normally what happens is when somebody retires at the higher level, the budget gets dropped to the lower level in mills. So the wrinkle is the state mandate for the library spending. But eventually, that person that took that position is going to get back up to that step, and that alludes to the issue of what to do with the hours when that happens. Sorry.
I've got a question for Charlie. Charlie, you're a technologist. Does that person have slack in their line that could pick up, help the library in any capacity?
But in fact, they're going over there on a regular basis to the library to assist on technical issues involving computers. They're not there to do many of the functions that the tech person at the library is doing, in the sense of teaching people how, for instance, put together websites or maintain websites. That we need this person to simply know or maintain our computers and make sure everything's up and running. That's a primary function rather than as a teaching vehicle.
Yeah, I think there's the roles between the town tech person and the library tech person are very distinct and very two different things. And I know we had talked when we had put out the position of the tech person, wondering if we could kind of combine the jobs. And you really can't, just because of the library responsibilities that go with our technology. It's called a technology coordinator from, way back when, but, her roles are very distinct.
It's more like an online type of
Right,
library
right.
coordinator.
Yes, yeah.
I was just approaching it from the standpoint of there were a set number of duties that she could, pass over.
Yeah, no,
that,
no.
More mechanical.
To kind of free her up her hours. Her hours now, like I said, are really stretched to the max, and I think I just figured this was a really good time to do it, where we had that gap and we have the need for the technology person. So I'll probably be coming back next year,
Is
because
there
I'm sure, technology is moving, forward, and the need for, the technology.
is there a dynamic change that you think you would realize with this increase in how the library operates strictly in this department, in the technology?
I think that we would see, I know that we would see, more large group programming, which is important, again, because we don't have a line item. I can't, run a class on how to, I can't hire out somebody to come in and show somebody how to download ebooks. I can't, so basically you would see an increase in our programming for technology, especially with the community room. You would always have somebody on site, although I'm hoping that it's easy enough that I can, go and click. But you would always have somebody on site to, just as somebody to make you feel good that, oh, so the tech person is here in case something happens. You know, also like you saw the, you know, the patch panel and stuff, so, but that's not really,
It's not really what
yeah,
you would have
that's not really
her.
what it is. It's really mainly the programming aspect and the, you know, the things that are available through the sales network. There's, you know, over 80 libraries in the network, and we're all trying to stay connected, you know, through the internet, basically. So I think we would see dramatically. She went to a workshop on what other libraries are doing, and one of the projects that we want to do is with an online bulletin board, so, but that would require PowerPoints and, you know, keeping that up as to like what's going on in the town. Part of our long-range plan, well, we're writing that. I didn't hear who was coming Wednesday night to the long-range plan meeting, but we're writing a long-range plan, and part of our other long-range plan that, the part that we did not actually accomplish was to have the library be the central location for the town. So if anybody wanted to know anything about the soccer signups, or what's going on at the elementary school, or what's going on at the senior center, they would always come to the library, and that would be the central location. And with that, other libraries are putting in televisions, you know, rolling bulletin boards, like right at their front circulation desk. That's not something that I see that we're going to be able to accomplish in 18 hours.
Sandy?
I think speaking in favor of it, I think that it's a better way of servicing the community too, helping a lot of people who are not so, like myself, not so computer savvy, if there's a place where they can go and get help. I have an Amazon Kindle. I play games on it because I really don't even know how to download books on it or anything like that. But to have a tech person who can help the average person, help a kid who maybe can't get help from their parent, help an elderly person better be able to navigate technology, because everything's going with technology. Everything's electronic. So, also never set up a Facebook page. So I'm like, hoping my kids will spend time with me so I can do something like that. But having a person at the library helps the community stay better connected and in touch too. If you know, it just seems to be the way everything is going, and our library being updated and being able to offer that is going to help.
We've had, you know, all of our groups now, the genealogy group asked to use the projector every time so that they can get on Ancestry through the community room. You know, once we get the community room update and we have a, you know, tech person, I can imagine where that's going to go with other genealogy groups, you know, in the area coming and using not only our resource of the genealogy group, but the resources in the library, and that's all going to be, you know, helped along with our tech person. So it's mainly programming, and I think it's just the perfect time to do it.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Question,
Okay.
does it have to be 25 hours?
I think 25 hours, it's either that or 20, and I don't think 20 is really gonna, help as much as I really need the help in the technology department. And it's only 2 extra hours a week. So I think 2 extra hours a week would kind of relieve some of the burden that they're having now, you know, where the main responsibilities of her job are, like I said, you know, stretched to the max. 2 hours would probably help that. But if we want to really take advantage of the technology and her expertise and the community room update and the fact that I need some help with programming over at the library, then I think the 25 hours, I don't think the difference would be much, you know. The cost of increasing it, it's $8,091, so. Yeah.
Hi, Nikki. That's okay. I'll take double allergy pills, except for Stu scared me earlier, so I'm gonna get dementia taking them.
I think it was Kendra that scared you.
I didn't say anything, I just kept driving. Oh dear. Driving and swearing, driving and
Hey,
swearing.
I did text at 4 o'clock to ask if anybody else had bagged out at that point.
Yeah, but you
in
didn't
time.
say you were going to.
That's what time I took the pill. So the capital items request would change if this is approved? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, based on our discussion, the 4,300 would come out for the ceiling and striping. And based on what she presented, there would also be a switch being taken out and a public printer
And the director's.
and the
laptop.
director's laptop.
So
Totaling
5,300.
1,450
The extra
and then the
hours.
4,300.
So
those-
25 hours.
So I guess I would, can the ceiling and striping wait realistically, or?
It was originally one of Jerry's proposals, and he put it on hold to
Okay.
get his aerial man lift. We just thought
We thought
where
with
the
the
money was,
excess funds, we
Right.
might be able to
would
do
be able
that.
to get it through there.
Which, I mean, I'm still turning back to the town at almost $7,000, so, you know, realistically, you could use that money for the parking, for that project. That's $4,000, right?
But that's not included in your list.
Actually, if you look at this list,
Is the-
all right, so
Did you have a updated, sorry? An updated list of the, thanks, Bob.
These are all the capital requests that were going in,
Okay,
okay? They rolled it into her budget, so they're not,
so it's
Separate
not on the
articles.
capital items
No.
list?
it's not on the capital items list, it's in their budget.
Do we have anything for the library on the capital items?
No, we rolled it into their budget in order to make up the
Right.
shortfall from the
budget
increase.
increased to 100 and, their expense budget increased to 110,312. What it usually is, last year it was 84,953, which left 25,359. So looking at the capital requests, all the capital requests added up to 8,934. Then we threw in the 4,300 for the pavement of the parking lot, which still left 12,125 to be turned back into the town.
Okay.
Now, we're saying if you give her the 8,091, we would not do the lining of the parking lot. And then possibly take off the director's laptop, the public printer, and the Linsky switch, which would be another 1,450. So that,
Although they
To
still
help
would be
even out,
money
yeah.
for the parking
Right.
lot.
that money, so you're still
But we don't
turning
have,
back in probably close to 10,000.
but we don't have an article for that, right? Because that was coming
No, this is all
through.
in her expense budget.
But you're trying to find a place to put it in another article so we can get it this year, is that what you're thinking?
Just, I don't know, I don't remember talking with Jerry about how bad he thought the
The
parking lot was.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole amount's been budgeted to fix this thing, it's just a
Right.
question of,
How much-
within the budget, what do we actually use it for? I think that's the, sounds like
Right,
that's.
it's more how much would be left in the
Would be
budget
turned
at the
back,
end
I
of
guess.
the year, would be turned back. So we could, I mean, even if you did all her capital items and the parking lot, should still be turning in 12,125. So if you took the 8,091 out of that,
Yeah.
should still be turning in over $4,000, turning back in at the end of the year. We're saying if you wanted more to be turned back in at the end of the year, then we could cut down on some of her capital items.
So is that, who authorizes that spend for the capital items? Is that the board of
Actually-
trustees for the library?
Yeah, they're looking to us for guidance. So they're looking to you for guidance, and they came to the capital planning committee for guidance.
Well, like last year though, or in the past years, when the finance committee or the capital plan committee put us on that rotating schedule, the board didn't have to approve that. It was
Because that was
capital
at-
plan
We put
committee.
it-
Voted at town.
Yeah,
We put an article on, and it went to town meeting, and it was voted.
But because this
But
is coming out
year,
of the
we didn't
expense
put-
line.
Right, we didn't put an article on, it'd be in your expense line.
right.
So she's just basically looking for guidance as to what you would
So you have a
expect.
little more flexibility
Right.
here how to decide what to do, I guess,
Right.
without having to deal with it at the town
Right.
meeting, so to speak.
And if we took the 8,091 and put it in the wages, then we would of course lower the expense line by that same amount of money.
Okay.
So back of the envelope numbers, with 8,091 getting taken away from the 12,000, adding in the 4,300 and adding in the 1,450 coming out of the capital, there'd be 9,800 returned to the general fund.
Are you saying, I missed all the detail, are you saying leave it in the parking lot?
We would take the parking, if we were to approve the increase in hours, we
Yeah.
would strike the parking lot.
Yeah.
And we would strike 3 capital items totaling 1,450.
Or you could leave the parking lot in there and
Yeah,
then.
that's
And
right.
return
turn
less,
back would be less.
correct,
But we still don't know how much of an increase, if there would be with benefits, right?
correct.
So it's still an unknown
It's
cost.
It's an unknown cost.
Okay, what's everyone's feeling? Is there a motion to reconsider, or?
I'll make the motion to reconsider.
What are we reconsidering?
Reconsidering the,
So you need to reconsider both lines.
yep. We're gonna make a
Isn't
motion,
the bottom line number the same?
bottom line number will remain the same.
So what are we reconsidering?
Well, you
The
moved,
wage line.
The wage line.
That's what Sandy made that, oh.
I have that.
Yeah.
But,
So when we voted
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, we voted to maintain the tech service hours
oh,
at
I see, yeah,
18.
you're moving them from one.
We're
yeah.
moving the money around.
Right, I'm with you. I second your motion.
Okay.
Now that I know.
okay, so you made a motion to
Reconsider.
reconsider 129 and 130?
130 and 131.
130 and 131, okay. There's a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, you and I?
And I,
Okay, it's unanimous to reconsider. Now your motion for the line.
As Jean mentioned, I make that this is the perfect time to do this. I make a motion to change line 130 library wages to read $156,578.
Is that the wage line?
Yes, line 130.
You want a pen?
I had one.
wait, we took that
I added 8,091
to the 148?
to the 148,487.
And what was the number?
156,578.
Then your other line is what?
I'll make a motion, do we want to approve this one or do them both at the same
Just do
time?
them both at the
Alright.
same time.
I'd also
Well, now,
like,
wait, are you just moving it around? We're not discussing what's inside the expense line? You're just shifting it from one to the other?
Correct. And I would like to make a motion to amend line 131, library expense, to read 10, I'm gonna need a calculator for this one. $102,221.
Is there a second on that motion? Stu?
Mel, I trust you, but can we just get a verification from
Yeah,
Sandy?
give the numbers,
That
too.
you're good with that?
So the wages would go to
I love that you're double
156,578.
checking up on
And
me
the
in front of cable.
expense would go to 102,219, right?
221,
221?
yes. At least according to my calculator.
I don't think so. Check it.
See a amount of money we're not
113.
8,091.
I still got 102,221.
Just
We get
before you came, the discussion was that
102,219.
that's pure weight.
Are you using
It's not-
110,312?
Retirement.
Oh, no, that's the problem.
Okay.
110,312.
Minus 8091.
110,312 minus.
So the numbers agree?
Have increases.
All right. We are in agreement.
No, reverse. Expense to
From
wages.
Expense to
Must have
wages.
misread the
See,
Oh, I did, okay.
so
Yeah, that makes
here's
sense.
what
Yep,
the-
yep, totally makes sense. I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
so Mel has a motion on the table for the two lines. Has it been seconded?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay, it's opposed? Okay. So,
And Linda, you opposed to both?
I am, only
Okay.
because, I want to explain it, because it's nothing against the library, it's just we set a precedent from the beginning that everybody would come with a level serviced budget, and by increasing the hours, it is not level service. That is the only reason why. It is not because I don't think the library needs it.
Understood. Thank you.
okay. Okay. So, any other thing from the library?
Just my question, so on town meeting, if I get the question, because my expense budget has gone up from, 84,953 to 102,221, and somebody may ask, where is that? Who approves, like, I think you would ask that question, what I'm spending that, it's all allocated, and I am turning some money back, so.
You need a simple explanation.
The simple
I mean, like
explanation would be is
Yeah.
in order to stay within the accreditation, we needed to spend X amount of dollars, and because of personnel changes at the library, in order to keep the accreditation number at that value, we're lowering wages, but we have to increase the expenses to match that number.
I mean, I can say that, but do I know next fiscal year, that we're talking about here, what I'm spending this month, like which capital items have been approved and what I'm actually not
You mean
going to
within your,
spend on? Within my
Like the agreement, like what you're gonna turn back.
Right, what I'm
basically.
gonna turn back and basically what I'm gonna spend the money on.
The numbers we ran took into account the capital items that you submitted
Okay, so
on
you're going
here.
with what I submitted on there.
Correct, so
Okay, great.
basically we struck from Sandy's list the switch, the public printer, the laptop, and the ceiling and striping of the parking lot.
Okay.
So I would just ask you guys to talk with Jerry and find out what priority that is, because if that's a higher priority now after the winter and to get that done, then maybe you
We
don't
can
turn that
talk
back.
to 'em, and then it would just be less money that would be turned back.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
The only other thing, Gene, just as a reminder from our conversation at capital plan, is if nobody else holds these lines, you are going to have to hold them because the printed warrant is gonna have the old numbers in here.
So I have to
Does she
say,
have to?
Somebody will-
I think we can because this is our article, it's not her article. This is ours.
I think what we'll do, Sandy can confirm, we've done this before. If there are changes between what the finance recommended in the warrant and what it now recommends on May 9th, we'll have an addendum sheet specifically addressing those things.
Okay,
And that John Bruno, we'll see John Bruno next week, next Tuesday, and we'll go through those specific lines and say, for this line, it's this number, not the old number. It's this number, not the old number.
okay,
And
good.
we'll have handouts at town meeting,
Good.
all right?
so if nobody else, I don't have to do anything if nobody else. says
Provided that
anything.
there's a
It
change.
should be,
I mean, I'll be prepared to speak
Right.
on this, but,
The mechanic, I mean, we can explain the mechanics, the actual stuff in the budget that's gonna be your bailiwick.
Feeling better?
No. But I won't know it. But I won't know that I don't feel it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting all you folks.
I will take my pen back
That wasn't included.
I'm gonna bring you a library pen tomorrow.
I said you're in the pool and they go, they did it.
Thank you, thank you, guys.
All right, folks, have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Two.
Is there any other lines that we didn't get to on the article?
From the articles, yes, we have several to go through.
You get a couple of those.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see.
Thank you for the cough drops.
They're kind of vitamin C drops, it's easy to throw it in there.
We have,
We have a hold on 27.
Seven, I gave them all that.
32,
The holds.
30, I'm sorry, 31, 32.
Okay, Article 27, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds the sum of $5,000 to purchase new computers and associated IT equipment for the fire department. Okay, what's the recommendation from capital plan?
It's not part,
They were for the ambulances.
Yep.
was it not part of when we originally met with him?
No, it was.
Oh, okay.
It was one of his original articles.
Okay. I think that's why we held, because we weren't sure.
Would, Charlie, were you gonna know, were you going to send him an email or? What was said last week?
Which thing am I doing?
The $5,000
Yeah, we're asking
for
if you did it.
No.
computers for the fire department?
I've got notes here of 2 laptops.
Oh,
That's what I have.
yeah, that's what he gave me, I can, if you want more specific than that, I can ask again, that'd be fine. You know, because I know I got an email back from him. It may not be- Well, we'll talk about something else for a minute.
All right, let's move to the next one.
And these are supposed to be ruggedized, you know. ones
So these are supposed to
that
be,
ride in the ambulance.
these are supposed to be for the ambulance? Okay,
That, I mean, that was what I had.
what you had down for notes? Okay.
Article 31.
31, yep.
2,350 for extra fire and police details.
For the
Oh,
4th
we
of
were
July.
gonna ask,
It's for the extra details for the fireplace, it's not extra,
yeah.
yeah. Just,
It's for the details.
it's
Yeah.
for the details, not like.
Extra.
I'm just reading the words, but yes.
Maybe we
I know.
should scratch
We call it-
extra
We call
out.
it an extra detail when we have a fire police officer come in for a detail. But we're not asking for additional, it's just that they want it covered under the budget.
Okay. What's,
What he wrote was, I'm planning on replacing the Panasonic Toughbook computers in the ambulances. They are roughly $2,000 plus the cost of MS Office and setup fees. If you need more than that, I can go back and ask.
so is there, sum of money still left from overlay and,
Oh, it's in there, yeah. It's in the, it was on the list of articles,
okay,
so it was definitely one of the ones that we had to put in and had fund funded
oh,
for.
right.
It's a separate, I did it, just the 2 pages for the articles.
This one?
Yeah,
Do you want to use this one?
sure. You're probably not gonna want it back though, right?
No, you can keep that one.
Okay, so Article 27. So this is a recommendation from capital plan for the 5,000? This is what you're recommending, this sheet
Correct.
here. Okay. Is there a motion for Article 27?
I'll make the motion to approve Article 27 as written.
A second,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, no.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Bye.
Okay, unanimous. Line 31 was 4th of July, request for detail for $2,350.
Why did we hold this one? I can't
I
remember.
think we wanted to discuss it as a full board.
I think it's
Good.
on the list.
This was talk of, this might be an ongoing thing and whether to put it as a line item, et cetera.
So, I know we have a line for the other celebration, that's holidays in Halifax. And we spend money on that for a detail, but not for the fireworks that occurs because that's been a donation.
The fireworks have been a donation. They used their budget for the ice, for the bags and the luminaries, for different of some of the other attractions.
Why
The-
not
the-
on
yeah.
wagon, ride?
But not for details?
No, I believe it was in, I think the details were in there too. John, do you remember? I believe they were. But I don't know that they were as much, I don't think it was as much because it's
Not as many
really
people?
just a police detail. We don't, the fire detail was covered under the donation for the fireworks.
So holidays in Halifax is $3,395.
Right. And like I said, they don't pay the fire detail because that's paid for by the people who are donating the fireworks.
Right.
So they've just had to pay a police detail.
If there's no fireworks because there's no donation, would we still have the luminary?
Right.
It wasn't always fireworks at the
No.
fest.
It's only the last 3 years. We've had detail costs, I know that. Because, you know, the-
Right, but they wouldn't be fire detail, it would
No,
be the police, and it's,
And Halifax, we've done them all in Halifax. Details a lot, as many as they have.
right, they still have people up for those, yeah.
Covered that. It's about fireworks.
Okay. So, what's everyone's feelings on this?
I'm torn.
Okay,
I'm also torn, only because we have money in the budget that we didn't have when she initially came in.
Nikki?
Yeah, I'd like to do it because I feel like this is a great event for the community. So my hesitation is only to set the precedent, but it's been going back and forth in the past, right? It hasn't always been.
No, in the
It has
past,
always
we
not
have
been.
paid for it,
Yeah.
for the detail. I don't know how many years ago that was, but we have.
And I know they've been having a hard time fundraising, and there are conflicting fundraisers too with the hops fundraising going on, which also is really important for the community. I think it's hard to raise all of this money from Halifax people. For these events, it's hard.
Stu, your feelings?
I'll go with the flow.
I think the event is really nice to have for the town. So, Is there a motion to recommend the expenditure for line
I'll make that
31?
motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, 4-1.
It's tough.
Okay,
It is.
okay, so the next one,
Alright, so
Held.
that's 32, and unless I missed it, we were gonna,
32
so
had
32
passed
came
tonight.
tonight. They
oh,
came,
okay,
Yeah.
I missed it, alright, you can update me later. Or did you already vote on it?
Yeah.
they said it was $750 for the 8 signs.
Yeah. And did you approve it?
Yep.
Next year's more interesting.
Any others?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Looking at.
Anything, so we have next week and then we have the following week for town meeting?
I still need to go into exactly.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was hoping to get Stu's motion before that came up.
I don't have anything for Article 44. Did you do that?
We had already not recommended it.
Yeah.
I was,
Okay.
I was gonna make a motion to
You know which article,
reconsider,
which one?
just based on information that was gathered at last Thursday's meeting, just to bring it up for consideration.
Which article?
44.
Is it they're gonna get a lot more money for it?
No, that is not it, but I just think we should talk about it
So-
based on what was presented.
I guess you can make your motion.
I'll make the motion to reconsider Article 44. It's just to reconsider.
Was the new information something we discussed before I was here?
No.
No,
All right, well, if you don't get just discuss it.
I'll second so we can
Okay.
talk about it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
But
Aye.
why are we reconsidering?
Because
Mel
Mel wants
has-
well,
to share.
there's new details that were presented at the Kingston meeting Thursday, and I just thought it was important that we be at least privy to that before we finalize our decision on this. At the meeting the other night,
So did everyone vote on that?
I did not vote. Can't we discuss it before we vote?
this is just to reconsider.
Procedurally, why do we need to reconsider before we discuss?
You don't have to. You can just talk
That we
about
could just
it.
discuss it.
Just discuss it.
All right, so I attended this.
That failed.
I attended the Kingston meeting along with Sandy and Kim the other night. Kingston Selectmen put on basically an infomercial for the new police department. Most of it was not germane to Halifax. However, the talk of the cost of the land and the positioning of the parcel was brought up and was discussed in relation to Halifax. They have moved the parcel of land, the 5 acres that they are going to take, has moved from the center of the lot to the southeasterly corner of the lot. So they went from 5 contiguous acres of upland in the center of the lot, which would have infringed on a lot more of the lot for future development, to the corner where they now have 3 acres of contiguous upland with 2 acres of wetland.
So is that next to where the football field is? Is that the part you're talking about?
No. So further down
27.
27 heading towards
Okay, I guess I
Kingston.
So on the other side of the administration building?
Correct.
Beyond that, because there's 3 houses there,
Oh.
is the administration
So the
building.
land goes behind the houses and around?
Yeah,
Correct.
Oh.
so my contention was and still is, if we have to replace that acreage, or at least the frontage at some point in time, the only place to do that would be to buy out those houses. Sandy?
All right, so that was one of the things that they talked about, is they've left a 200-foot access to get to the remaining 7 acres of upland, and it's 15 acres altogether, I believe, with 7 acres of a contiguous, and I asked, contiguous uplands, and they said yes. So there is access and there is plenty of land if we needed to build a special needs facility or something with that idea for expansion, that there is the land and the access to it. That was one of the reasons why they moved it, is so that Silver Lake would have access without having to buy out houses or anything like that. So they've made a substantial change to the plan from what was originally proposed.
What's the quality of that land? Meaning, you know, that if you had to do major site work to put a building in, that,
I believe it's wooded.
It's all forested, it's
Yeah,
all
but they
forested,
said
it
it's-
abuts wetlands, so there is
Right.
there's some significant cost down the road of developing the land.
Right.
Um,
But they would be anyways, the lot that they're buying is the same. And they said the soils were sandy, if I remember right.
So they wouldn't have to replicate any wetlands, and that piece of
No.
land wouldn't have to
Correct.
be.
Based on my question to the building inspector for the town of Kingston, they would expect that a 120,000 square foot building could be erected on the 7 acres.
okay, without major site work in terms of removing ledge or,
It would qualify under the town building code as it sits. As far as upland, they wouldn't have to recreate.
I don't
But
think there's
there's-
any ledge over there.
okay, so there's a big difference
That's
between
sandy,
digging through
yeah.
some sand to put a foundation in, blowing up ledge to
Right.
put a
I
foundation.
don't
Correct.
believe there's any
Yeah,
ledge.
it's all sandy soil.
Did they hire a botanist to go out and make sure that the wetlands?
They had it delineated, they had that in the plan, the, what was it called? The valuation.
Evaluation by Lane Group actually had
Right.
that in it.
And the people who did the valuation was hired by Silver Lake, not by Kingston.
One question would be, the evaluation was done on the original parcel, right, in the sense of the original 5 acres?
Correct.
So has it been
the
redone?
evaluation still
It is not, but I would expect that the valuation would be less as you have less quote-unquote grade A land.
Correct. But they didn't change that.
But they did not change the valuation.
Yeah.
So basically they don't have an evaluation on the piece of property that they want to sell.
You don't know the fair market value.
They are maintaining the fair market value for the better piece of property for,
Well, in the sense what you're saying is, they're saying, even though we don't have a new val, there's belief that the new configured parcel would be worth less than the original configured parcel because the land is of less quality. But we don't have the actual number saying, instead of 250, it's 225 or 218 or 200. But the consensus is that it's less in value than the original configured, which means supposedly if you go by that, we'd be getting fair value by getting 250, or whatever, is it 250?
250, they've negotiated the number of 250 based on the original plan.
I personally don't think it makes any sense to sell the land.
What would be the benefit to us? That's where I'm having a hard time. Like, what's the benefit of selling it?
Nothing,
Yeah.
other than that sort of like it's more money that.
They're gonna go
Well,
through really
Yeah,
quick.
they're
So
gonna burn
that was
yeah.
my question,
Yeah.
because it says in the article, that Kingston's share of such proceeds to be donated back to the school district to fund capital projects, but what about Halifax and Clinton's
Well,
share?
the shares will not come back to the towns because they're under E&D value.
I was thinking that actually when we left the meeting. They talk about Kingston's share coming back to the town, it's not that it's ever going out. That 250 is going into the school district. And unless they go over their E&D value this year.
Which they won't,
It
because they're
won't.
spending it
They're
down
spending
by
half of
over half of it right now.
The only way I could see something like that being redistributed, and since I don't have all the documents that would be necessary, would be that the 3 towns themselves came up with the cash originally. And therefore,
The 3 towns would have to be paid back for the land. I just don't,
I'm not saying that's what's the state, but that's the only thing I can think of how the money would come back.
I just don't think it makes sense to sell a piece of land that doesn't cost you anything. And we never know what the future needs are gonna be. And you have that parcel that's there. I mean, we didn't know we needed to build a middle school, and Pembroke was gonna leave, and we had to build a middle school, and we know that We know that the administration building doesn't meet the ADA value, and we know that they want to build a new administration building. And they're gonna be talking about that over the next few years, so we know that they're going to be probably not putting it in the same place, they're probably gonna have to put it and develop a piece of that. So are we ever gonna have a hockey rink, or, you know, there's multiple other fields that could be put in at the school. There's all sorts of things that could be done. I just think within the next 50 years, I bet you that we end up expanding Silver Lake
Yeah, that's true.
more. And by taking that parcel out, I think it limits the possibilities of what you can do there. I don't think I would, even if it was a much larger number, I don't think the value is there to sell. Even if it was $1 million, I don't think that the value over the long term is there. There's no reason to sell.
I'm personally in agreement with you, I just wanted to present the changes that they had made, so.
Well, I think that sort of brings up an interesting, like, thought experiment, if you will. What if someone that wasn't part of one of the towns wanted to buy a parcel of land from Silver Lake?
They
Would we
could,
just,
Like an independent person.
like if,
Yeah.
you know, Joe Schmo said, I want those 3 acres because I want to build a, whatever, even if we liked it. Would we even be like discussing it, or would we just?
well, they'd
say
have
no?
they'd have to negotiate with Silver Lake like they did here.
Well, no, I know, I'm just wondering.
But Silver
if you
Lake
think
didn't
about
deem it, Silver Lake didn't deem it an excess property and go out to get a value on bid. Silver Lake was brought an offer
Right.
that somebody wanted to purchase it. It's not
Yeah, I
like it was a
understand.
open
I'm
market
just
idea.
saying, think, if someone else said, I wanna buy this piece of land for $250, would we be putting so much thought into it, or would we just say, no, why would
No, I think we
sell
would
I think
flatly
we would
refuse it.
Right, see,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking too. So I think maybe we're considering this a little bit more because it's a town building, but it isn't a Halifax town.
Right. I personally, I don't think it's a good idea to sell.
I'm in agreement.
Stu?
You know, I mean, there are a lot of arguments that can go either way. I mean, the fact of, you know, in this day and age of having your, you know, police station near your high school, and the value that, you know, intrinsic value it brings, you know. And you can, I think, argue it both ways. I'm not familiar enough with the plans of the school, how they want to grow, what they want to do, but it would seem short-sighted if you are land limited to get into a predicament where you then are going somewhere else.
I think where those 3 house lots are in front of that section of parcel, the only other place you could purchase would be those house lots, and each one of those houses is assessed for more than $250,000, and you're only getting that size, which I'm sure is not 5 acres for each one of those lots.
So it does beg the question, is this kind of a sweetheart deal that works best for the town of Kingston and for nobody else?
I think that's a true statement.
Where is the police station now?
In the center of their town.
On the short stretch of 3A between
The Cumberland Farms.
Cumberland Farms and the main drag of 3A down by the Jones River.
Station.
Oh, on the right.
Yeah.
With the early bird restaurant,
Bless you.
just past St. Joseph's.
Why can't they just make it bigger there?
Well, they have some structural issues. It would actually be as costly or more costly to develop that, to shore that up. But part of the reason it's more costly is because they're getting the land at such a good deal.
So, not gonna reconsider this, right?
Nope.
Okay.
I just didn't know if we needed to do it for parliamentary procedure.
Information's good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we had already voted on it, I just wanted to.
Yeah, that's good, it's good to know all the facts. I agree.
No, you're
Got a
not,
little
none of
fish on
that's
it.
all the work.
Is he gonna make it back?
Better, we gotta go into executive session.
Is that it? Oh, do we have to go into
Go to
executive
executive session.
Well, we have quorum, we could at least get through the motions and do that.
Sure.
All right.
Make a motion to enter into executive session?
You all have to vote individually.
But we have to motion and second and then vote one at a time, right? All right.
Some-
Is there a motion to go into executive session for the
And
purposes
seconded.
Yep.
of contract negotiation?
Sure,
It's been moved and seconded.
correct.
Mel, yeah.
Yay.
Gordon, yes. Linda,
Yes.
Stu, Nikki? Okay,
It's gonna take a couple minutes to get the framework on.
okay.
Yeah, can you
So-
explain what we're doing?
Charlie's gonna give us a contract
We're supposed to
update.
close the doors, right?
Yep.
Yeah, when we go into executive. Who do you want to stay here?
No, no, yeah, it's up to you. You know some of this already. Barbara doesn't, so probably.
I'm kind of right with it.
Okay.
Can I go with Barbara?
So we're going to come back out of executive session and adjourn, so that would be it for the camera for the night. So thank you very much.